How dare you order me around? This is your punishment. Then, I'll do just as you wish. My name is Hannah. I'm currently 35 years old, embarking on a new chapter in my life, being pregnant. Right now, I'm on maternity leave and fully dedicating myself to household duties as a housewife. My husband, Anthony, is an elite businessman with remarkable achievements at work. He is highly regarded by everyone at his workplace, but at home, he tends to show a somewhat arrogant side. He has a strong ego and quickly gets irritated by my opinions. So I try to keep them to myself as much as possible. Actually, until a while ago, I had doubts about our relationship and even considered divorce. But then I found out I was pregnant, and thinking about our child's future, I decided to work on repairing our relationship. Anthony is financially stable, and when we got married, we acquired a beautiful, newly built house. It has a spacious garden, a luxurious bathroom with a home sauna, and a large living room. It's an outstanding house in our neighborhood. Shortly after my pregnancy was confirmed, morning sickness began. According to the gynecologist, the severity of morning sickness varies from person to person. But mine was quite severe. Because of this, going back and forth to the bathroom became a part of my daily routine. When the morning sickness eased a bit, I sometimes went shopping at the nearby supermarket. But as soon as I returned home, I would have to rush to the bathroom again. On particularly bad days, I couldn't even go out and often relied on delivery services. However, this always led to nagging from my husband. One day, as I was struggling with morning sickness, Anthony came home. Really, morning sickness isn't an illness. Have you neglected household chores again? For a housewife, that's unacceptable. That day, my morning sickness was severe, so I was resting while doing chores. While I was in the middle of hanging laundry, I had to rush to the bathroom. And just when I returned to the living room, Anthony was glaring at me. As I tried to head to the kitchen saying, "I'm sorry. I'm just feeling sick today. I'll start preparing dinner right away." Anthony stopped me. "You just want to skip chores again, don't you? Forget it, I'm going out to eat." Angry, he left the house in the same clothes he returned from work in. All I could do was sigh. It's not like I want to suffer from morning sickness like this. I couldn't help but complain, but then I quickly came back to my senses. My words might reach the little life inside me. It's okay, you're here with me. Let's do our best together. I spoke to my baby while gently stroking my small belly. With this child, I can stay positive. No matter how Anthony behaves, I intend to do my best for this child. The next morning, Anthony returned home. He showered, didn't say a word, and went off to work again. His face still seemed angry, but I decided not to worry about it and started on the day's chores. Today, I felt a bit better than yesterday. Thinking it was a good time to do so, I went shopping at the nearby supermarket. Since I never know when I might feel unwell again, I decided to buy plenty of necessary groceries today. When I finished shopping and looked at the bags, they were heavier than I thought. Realizing I shouldn't carry heavy things during pregnancy, I was about to take the bags home on several trips when I heard a familiar voice. "Isn't that Hannah?" Turning around, there stood my husband's sister, Becky. "Hello, Becky." Becky is always kind and cares deeply for me. She was genuinely happy when she found out I was pregnant, and I liked her too. "Hello. Are you returning from shopping?" "Yes, I bought a bit too much. I'm thinking of carrying it home on several trips." Becky was surprised at the amount of my luggage and offered to help. It's okay to carry it bit by bit. It's also good for exercise. No, you're not alone now. You shouldn't carry heavy things. Let me help, don't be shy. Her kind smile warmed my heart, and I gratefully accepted her offer. It would be easier if you went shopping with Anthony, Becky suggested, but my husband hardly ever goes shopping with me, even on weekends. That's true, I'll think about doing that next time. If you go shopping when Anthony is at work, call me. I'll come with you. Our homes are close, and I want to help. Her kind words warmed my heart. With the luggage Becky carried for me, we returned to my house and had a great time chatting over coffee. After about 2 hours of conversation, Becky went home. After spending time with her, I realized that today's morning sickness wasn't so bad. I don't feel as sick today. I completely forgot about morning sickness while talking with Becky. I thought, feeling relieved. I often hear that morning sickness is due to hormonal imbalances, but maybe the state of mind also plays a part. As I pondered this and began preparing dinner, my husband returned home. I'm home. You're doing it today. Welcome home. I feel somehow better today. Anthony loosened his tie and smirked sarcastically. Aren't you just using morning sickness as an excuse to slack off? A colleague's wife at work manages all her chores even when pregnant. I felt annoyed inside, but I thought to respond calmly. You know, as I've said before, morning sickness varies from person to person. Some have severe symptoms like me, and others have lighter ones. I've heard of people who need to be hospitalized. Pregnancy isn't an illness. Morning sickness can be overcome with willpower. You're just lazy. It seemed my feelings weren't getting through to my husband. I felt it was futile to expect understanding from him. Months passed, and my belly grew considerably. Finally, the morning sickness subsided, and the baby is growing healthily. Feeling the lively movements of the baby truly makes me happy. However, contrary to these happy feelings, household chores and shopping have become increasingly difficult with my growing belly. So, I decided to take a bold step and ask my husband for help. Welcome home. Can I talk to you about something? Just mentioning that I wanted to talk, my husband looked displeased. What? Well, as my belly gets bigger, household chores and shopping are becoming a bit tough. Could you help me out a bit on your days off? However, my husband's reaction was more intense than I imagined, and he became angry. What? Are you saying I should do the chores? No. That's not it. Just a little help would be. What do you think I am? I work hard every day. It's only natural for a housewife like you to do the chores. I was just shocked and speechless at my husband's shouting. This incident made me realize that it was impossible to seek understanding from my husband. His angry voice towards me showed no signs of abating. Always using pregnancy as an excuse when it suits you. It's your fault you're pregnant. You can't do anything. I was stunned by my husband's harsh words and filled with disbelief. What? Did you just say? My fault I'm pregnant. Of course. It's the woman's role to get pregnant. And I cooperated because you wanted a child. Don't you understand that? After spewing out his angry words, my husband left the room. Initially stunned, I slowly began to feel a growing anger. I had been trying to support my husband, but to be told such things. Overwhelmed and unsure of what to do, I couldn't stop the tears from flowing. Then, I felt the baby move in my stomach. Feeling the baby's movements, it seemed like I was being comforted. Gently stroking my belly, more tears came as I whispered in my mind. I'm sorry, baby, for being a mom like this. After sitting alone for a while, I decided I wouldn't expect anything from my husband anymore. I gathered myself and started doing household chores. As I was getting ready to go shopping, my phone rang. Who could it be? I wondered and saw that it was from Becky. Hello, Becky? Good afternoon. Hannah, are you going shopping today? How about we go together? It was such perfect timing that I couldn't help but chuckle. Yes. I was just getting ready to go. Let's go together. Soon after, Becky arrived in her car, and we went to the supermarket together. Your belly has gotten quite big, hasn't it? Isn't it difficult to move around? She cares about me, unlike my husband. The difference is so great that I sometimes wonder if they are siblings. I get a bit short of breath, but I'm okay. Right. But it's proof that the baby is growing healthily. Hey, little one. Can't wait to see you healthy and active. As Becky spoke gently to my belly, the baby kicked as if responding. Maybe the baby is responding. Baby, can you hear your aunt's voice? Becky said with a laugh. After arriving at the supermarket, we shopped together and then decided to have coffee at my house as usual. Our post-shopping coffee time has become a routine, hasn't it? But Hannah, don't overdo it. I'm fine. Just a bit tired from being on the move. Becky looked at me with concern, despite my smiling response. Are you okay, Hannah? You look a bit tired. Oh, do I? Maybe I've been working a bit too hard on the housework. I tried to laugh it off, but Becky's expression quickly turned worried. I was surprised to find tears flowing from my eyes without realizing it and quickly wiped them away. What's wrong? Did something happen? I'm here to listen if you want to talk. Overwhelmed by her kindness, my emotions spilled over and I couldn't stop crying. Becky gently rubbed my back until I calmed down. I'm sorry. I'm okay, now. After a while, Becky reassured me again. You don't have to talk if it's hard, but if you want to share something, I'm here to listen. I hesitated but decided to tell her everything about what had been happening with my husband. I could see Becky's expression turning angrier as she listened. That Anthony. Should I give him a piece of my mind? I was shocked and quickly stopped her. It's okay, now. Just being able to talk about it and have someone listen has helped a lot. It's not okay, at all. I'll handle it. What? You're going to handle it, Becky? Becky looked serious and somewhat apologetic. I'm sorry, Hannah. I'm sorry you had to go through this because of my brother. But thank you for telling me. You've been enduring it all by yourself. It must have been hard. Her kind words brought tears to my eyes again. I regretted not talking to her sooner. I'll follow up on this, so don't worry. Everything will be okay. Grateful for Becky's willingness to go to such lengths for me, I decided to rely on her words without hesitation. One day, my husband, Anthony, came home earlier than usual. When I heard his gentle "I'm home," I did a double take. He's usually so cold, but today he seemed different. When I responded with "Welcome back," Anthony smiled brightly and made a surprising suggestion. Hey, we need a break too, don't we? Let's go to Hawaii before the baby is born to refresh ourselves. I couldn't believe my ears. Anthony, usually so curt and quick to anger, was making this offer. I found it strange and suspicious, rather than being happy. What's going on? This is so sudden. I've been thinking, maybe I've been too harsh on you lately. I've been busy with work and took it out on you. I'm sorry. It was rare for Anthony to apologize so openly, and I was a bit taken aback. The trip sounded wonderful, but I couldn't shake a weird sense of unease. What's wrong? Don't you want to go? I invited you on this trip as a token of my appreciation. Seeing me hesitant, Anthony looked disappointed. Thinking this could be a good chance to reset our relationship if he truly meant it as a thank you, I decided to accept his invitation. Okay, let's go. Thank you. Anthony was overjoyed at my response, almost exaggeratedly so. Actually, I've already booked it for next week. Next week? That's very soon, isn't it? I wanted to surprise you. I was a bit pleased that Anthony had planned such a thing. I see. Thank you. I'm happy. I'm entering the last month of pregnancy next week. So it's a bit worrying, but if we're going to go, now is the chance. I was entering the last month of pregnancy next week, so if we were going, I wanted to make sure we chose somewhere close, in case anything happened. But I did want a break, so I decided to go if I felt fine right up to the trip. Then look forward to next week. Seeing his smile after a long time made me happy. And I decided to accept his kindness sincerely. After that, Anthony remained in a good mood, enjoying our home sauna. I wished every day could be like this, as he was still in a good mood that night. Then, the day of the trip arrived. While doing a final check of our luggage, Anthony called me from the bathroom. Hannah, something's wrong with the sauna. You're using the sauna before the trip? Surprised, I went to the bathroom and saw the sauna door open. Anthony? As I called his name and peeked into the sauna, I was suddenly pushed from behind and fell inside. I twisted my body to protect my stomach, but still hit the floor hard with my back. Ouch. Holding my back, I looked at the door, which slammed shut with force. Anthony was peering through the small window, smirking. I felt my blood run cold. What are you doing? Open the door. The door wouldn't budge, as if something was holding it closed. Anthony, still smirking, spoke through the small window. Did you think we were going to Hawaii? There's no way I'd take a fatso like you. You can't even do housework properly. His face had returned to its usual cold expression. I realized then that his recent kindness was all an act, and I was shocked. That's awful. Let me out. I tried to reason with him to let me out, holding back tears, but he didn't seem likely to respond. This is your punishment for ordering me around. What? I never ordered you around. Didn't I tell you to do the housework? That was an order to me. Oh, and I'll be enjoying a 4-night, 5-day trip to Hawaii with my girlfriend. Wait a minute. Stop joking around. Ignoring my desperate cries, Anthony left the bathroom and then I heard the front door close. That sound plunged me into despair. Trapped in the sauna, I started sweating profusely from the heat. I tried to open the door, but no matter how hard I tried, it wouldn't budge. Realizing that my life was in danger, I was on the verge of panic. Just as I was about to take off my clothes, I heard something fall from them. Looking down, I saw my smartphone on the floor. Thinking it was a godsend, I immediately called Becky. Hello, Hannah? Aren't you in Hawaii? Becky, please help me. What? Hannah. What's wrong? Where are you? I'm in the sauna at home. Hannah. Are you okay? Hearing Becky's voice, I felt relieved and lost consciousness. When I woke up, I was in a hospital bed, with Becky sitting next to me, holding my hand and crying. Becky. As I opened my eyes groggily, I called out to Becky. Seeing me awake, she started crying even more. Hannah. Thank goodness. I was so worried. According to Becky, after I mentioned being in the sauna at home, the call suddenly ended. She rushed to my house, broke the living room window to get in, and found me. As Becky told me this, crying, I also couldn't hold back my tears. The baby is safe too. You did well. Hearing her words, I burst into tears. The doctor came and said I had mild dehydration but would be okay after a night's rest, which was a relief. I expressed my gratitude to the doctor. Soon after, both my parents and my in-laws arrived at the hospital. Everyone was worried about my condition and visibly shaken. When they all started asking what happened, I decided to tell them everything. What does that mean? I can't forgive him for this. Hearing the story, Becky, my parents, and my in-laws were visibly shaking with anger. My in-laws wanted to contact Anthony immediately, but I stopped them. I had a plan. Everyone, I'm sorry for causing such a fuss. But I can't stay silent after what he did. I have a plan, will you help me? Everyone listened to my idea and agreed to help with the plan. I'll do as you wish. Now, the retribution begins. After being discharged, I went to my parents' house the next day. My house was under repair because Becky had broken the window to save me. She was overseeing the repairs on my behalf. There were 4 days left until Anthony returned home. During that time, we would execute the plan. After hearing from Becky that the window repairs were done, I returned home with my parents the next day. Entering the bathroom and seeing the sauna, I shivered remembering that day. But I threw some raw fish into the sauna, out of sight, and placed a human-sized doll wrapped in cloth in front of the door. Then, I left the sauna on and left the house. I returned to my parents' house to rest. 4 days later, the day Anthony was due to return home arrived. I waited at my parents' house for a call from Becky. That night, she called. Hannah, he's back. I have been waiting for this report. Thank you, Becky. I'm sorry for involving you in this. I apologized for dragging her into our marital problems. What are you talking about? I want to do this. Becky's bright words towards me lightened the heaviness in my heart. Thanks to her encouragement, I felt a bit relieved. Hearing her report, I excitedly opened the screen of my smartphone. What appeared on the screen was the inside of my house. During these 4 days, with the help of both families, I set up multiple pet cameras throughout the house. The screen showed Anthony entering the house. I wonder what's going to happen next. I watched with bated breath. Anthony looked around the house unnaturally and pinched his nose, which was captured on the screen. Then, as if remembering something, he hurried to the bathroom. The camera perfectly captured Anthony peeking inside the sauna through the small window. By the way, I left the sauna door closed, just like when Anthony had trapped me inside. The camera showed Anthony getting surprised and falling on his rear as he looked inside the sauna. It also captured him panicking and rushing out of the house. Although Anthony disappeared from the camera view, Becky was waiting outside. Pretending to have come for a casual visit, she encountered Anthony, who looked strange. Becky kept her phone connected, so I could watch everything in real time. Oh, Anthony, back from Hawaii? Isn't Hannah with you? Oh. Hannah, well, actually. What's going on? Didn't you two come back together? Where's Hannah? No. You see, oh right. She went straight to a friend's house from the airport, we separated there. Really? Then, let me in. I brought something for Hannah. No, Hannah's not here, maybe some other time? I'm just dropping it off. Then, I'm coming in, huh? What's this smell? Nothing. Just leave, quickly. It's not a nothing. I'm coming in. Then the camera showed both of them again. Anthony was desperately trying to send Becky away. Becky pushed past Anthony, heading towards the bathroom with a strange smell. She found the sauna door made unopenable, and let out a scream when she peeped through the small window. Yeah. What is this? As she screamed, Anthony ran out of the house, essentially, he fled. Watching this scene with my parents, I sighed. To think I was married to such a pathetic man. The camera showed Becky, grinning and giving a peace sign to the camera. Seeing her thoroughly enjoying herself, I couldn't help but laugh. Becky then opened all the windows in my house and cleaned up the rotten fish and doll that were left in the sauna. The smell is terrible. I almost threw up. Becky, I'm so sorry. I can't believe I made you do this. No way, Hannah. I couldn't let you do this alone. Cough. But for now. He must believe the doll was you. Thinking I could have died if I had been trapped in the sauna. And knowing Anthony was aware of this, we decided to play this little act to fulfill his wish. Later, my in-laws contacted Anthony, saying, "We heard from Becky, what's going on? You didn't do something terrible to Hannah, did you?" When I first mentioned punishing my husband, they said they couldn't deceive their son. But eventually, they offered their help, which I gratefully accepted. Anthony was panicked. He needs to learn his lesson. My in-laws seemed to enjoy it as much as Becky did. It made me wonder if they were similar because they're family. According to them, Anthony was saying, "I don't know anything. It's not my fault." I turned off my phone to pretend I was trapped in the sauna. The communication with Becky and my in-laws was through my parents' phone. Surely, my phone must have had many missed calls from Anthony by now. Then, my parents called Anthony, but he didn't answer. They also contacted his office, but surprisingly, Anthony hadn't shown up at work either. On the contrary, he said he wanted to make contact. This confirmed that Anthony genuinely believed he had caused an incident. Of course, there's no doubt that the incident did occur. After that, Anthony went missing and didn't return home, and Becky was looking for him. The search for Anthony was to get him to agree to the next stage of the divorce. A few days later, Becky found Anthony. As expected, he was with his mistress. Becky caught him on the spot and took him to his parents' house. Upon hearing this, my parents and I also headed to his parents' house. However, since Anthony likely thought I was dead, I decided to stay on the second floor of his parents' house and watch the discussion downstairs. I had pet cameras, which I used in my house, installed at his parents' house. I also monitored the situation through my smartphone. Similarly, Becky kept her phone on call so that we could hear the conversation. When the camera was turned on, what appeared on the screen was the moment Becky slapped Anthony. Becky slapped him hard, and Anthony stumbled and fell from the impact. I couldn't help but think about her unexpected strength. What the hell are you thinking? Where have you been all this time? Anthony just sat there silently, looking down. Do you realize the terrible thing you've done to Hannah? Say something. Anthony just sat on the floor, looking down, not saying a word. Becky slapped him again. It seems better not to make Becky angry. My parents watched silently. No, I was just giving her a lesson. A lesson? What you did is a crime. I didn't think it would turn out like this. You thought nothing would happen after locking her in a sauna for 4 nights and 5 days? You know it could be life-threatening. You deserve to be punished. What do you mean? Are you going to turn your son into the police? I didn't mean any harm. After what you did, you can't say you didn't mean harm. Father-in-law's scolding made Anthony fall silent. Then my parents spoke. We're cutting ties with you, so please sign this. What? A divorce paper? My father had taken out a divorce paper. The purpose today was to get Anthony to sign it. But Hannah is already dead, isn't she? Just sign it quickly. You have no right to make excuses now. Quietly prompted by my mother, Anthony reluctantly filled it out. But the assets are mine, right? Upon hearing this, Becky slapped Anthony again. Even in this situation, all you can think about is money. Unbelievable. Well, Hannah is gone. I need the money because I want to remarry my girlfriend. The atmosphere in the room tensed up at Anthony's words about remarriage. I watched his behavior in disbelief. As I reached for a drink and momentarily looked away from the phone, I heard a loud thud. When I quickly looked back, I saw my father-in-law had hit Anthony. "We're cutting ties with you. Marry whoever you want. But never come back to this house again." I had never seen my father-in-law so furiously angry. It's frightening when a normally gentle person gets angry. Why me? Why do I have to suffer like this? It's all Hannah's fault. She shouldn't have ordered me around. Ordered you? Hannah did? Yes. She told me to help with the housework because her belly was getting big. And it was hard for her to move. That's outrageous, isn't it? Listening to Anthony's unbelievable logic, my in-laws and I were dumbfounded. Becky shouted in anger. "That's not an order at all. Even if it was, you should do it. You know, it's clear you haven't been supporting Hannah at all. Why am I the only one getting blamed?" After getting the divorce papers signed and realizing no further discussion was possible, I quietly went downstairs to where Anthony and Becky were arguing. So what if I had an affair? Hannah is gone, it doesn't matter. You can go to your mistress all you want, but I'll demand compensation. As I said this from behind Anthony, he jolted and turned around, our eyes meeting. Ah! He collapsed on the spot as if his legs had given out. How are you here? Why wouldn't I be? It's a family discussion. I have to participate. Anthony looked utterly confused and pale. Hannah, is this enough for you? Thank you, everyone. This is more than enough. As I thanked everyone, the trembling Anthony started to speak. Why are you here? I thought you were in the sauna. You thought I was dead? His earlier bluster was nowhere to be seen. He looked like a frightened puppy. I felt so pathetic that I didn't even want to talk anymore. You orchestrated this. I just did what you wanted. You were alive. Because of you, I've been. His confrontational attitude remained. My father shouted at him. Enough is enough. What do you think you're doing to my daughter? Frightened by my father's anger, Anthony just glared back, biting his lip. Let's go home. We've got the divorce papers signed. At my words, my parents nodded and brought our things. Mother, father, Becky, thank you so much for today. My parents and I thanked the in-laws, then left for our home. The next day, I received a call from the detective agency. They had gathered evidence of Anthony's affair while he was away. The agency did a thorough job, and I had all the evidence I needed for the affair. Anthony, believing I was dead, had not gone to work and had fled to his mistress, making it easy to gather evidence. Now, I was ready to claim compensation and submitted the divorce papers. I then went to the lawyer's office, handed over the evidence collected by the detective agency, and requested them to claim child support and compensation. The evidence was solid, so they could act quickly. I considered filing a police report, but out of respect for my in-laws, I decided against it. A few days later, my lawyer consulted me saying that Anthony wanted to talk. I hesitated but agreed to meet once, with my lawyer's consent. The meeting was set for a week later, and I attended, heavily pregnant. On the day of the meeting, to my surprise, Anthony came with his mistress. I thought this would expedite the discussion. As soon as the meeting began, Anthony spoke. I lost my job because of you. I can't find work now, and you're asking for alimony? That's too much. I won't pay child support since I'm not seeing the child. The compensation claim is entirely justified given the ample evidence of infidelity. Child support isn't contingent on visiting rights. It's a right the child is entitled to. I couldn't go to work because I thought Hannah was dead. Isn't she responsible for me losing my job? Why did you think Hannah was dead? Of course, I think that if someone's in a sauna for 5 days. Right. So you knowingly locked Hannah in the sauna, aware it could be life-threatening? You're admitting to committing a crime? No, that's not it. What I did was just a little punishment. No. That's not punishment, it's unquestionably a crime. And, you lost your job because you ran away and hid, right? After what happened, how could I go to work? When you realized the situation, you should have called an ambulance and gone to the police. The fact that you couldn't go to work is your problem. Therefore, it's not a reason to avoid paying compensation. This exchange left Anthony speechless, ending the conversation. His mistress, initially smirking, turned pale after the lawyer's rebuttal. Say something, will you? You were all eager to silence my wife. Anthony turned to his mistress for help, but she, upon seeing me, was startled and couldn't say a word. Hannah has said she'll refrain from filing a complaint if you pay compensation and child support. What will you do? At the lawyer's words, Anthony's demeanor changed. Is that true? Isn't that right, Hannah? Yes. But that's out of consideration for the in-laws, not you. If you don't agree to compensation and child support, I will file a complaint. Anthony hastily accepted my offer. Subsequently, both parties paid the compensation, and child support was also settled. Anthony lost his job for repeated unauthorized absences while on the run, and was quickly fired from his new job too. Unable to let go of his pride as an elite, he now scrapes by with odd jobs and his mistress's meager income. The mistress, who was initially after Anthony's money, has grown tired of him but remains with him, unable to oppose his tyranny. The night of that meeting, my labor started, and I rushed to the hospital, contacting both the in-laws and Becky. Although Anthony and I were divorced and now strangers, I still wanted to inform the in-laws who were looking forward to the baby's birth. A few hours later, I gave birth to a healthy baby boy. Both mother and child were well, and my parents, in-laws, and Becky greeted us with tears. Seeing them, I couldn't help but laugh. Despite everything, my relationship with the in-laws continues, and they occasionally visit to see the child. Seeing my child surrounded by so much love, I feel incredibly happy.